When all of the Anunnakis sat in an assembly, they all took an oath, which was not to create Homo sapiens with the ability to procreate, only under the restriction of the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were not to reproduce or have sexual intercourse with the Lulus. This was considered bestiality. However, Enki broke the oath, and started reproducing with the Lulus, and gave birth to Enashites. Thus in your Bible Genesis 6:1 it says, "Man, the Adamites were multiplying on the earth and had daughters born to them," and verse 2 speaks of what's called the Bain Alam, the sons of gods. This disagreeable, Enki's children, saw the daughters of Adamites men that they were Tobi, fair, that is good nature, and they took them by force as wives. Note, these are only the sons of Elohim, not the original Elohim. Meaning not only did they take them, but they kidnapped them and made them wives, of all which they chose. This was the Lulu woman. Then verse 3 picks up that this Yahuwah, Lord, spoke out about his Ruach, soul not always staying with man, Adamites, because he is also Bashar, flesh. Meaning Yahuwah was spirit and also flesh, just like the Adamites now, and would only stay with them for 120 years. Verse 4 speaks about Nephilims, which means those who fell down to earth, translated as giants living on earth in those days. This is telling you that these giants were already living on the planet Earth. And also it states after that when Bain Alam, son of gods, came in unto the daughters of Adamites, and bore children, the same became Gibor mighty men, which were of old, Enashites of renown. Let it be known that, the word children in your Bible is italicized to say that the word is not there in the Aramaic Hebrew language. The statement really is, and they bore Gibor, mighty men, which of Olam, which is poorly translated as old, meaning everlasting or eternal or perpetual or ancient ones, were of renown, and the English word renown is sham, which meant air vehicles or rocket ships, simply up there. So Enki broke the oath, to go against his brother Enlil, and gave these Lulus sexual reproduction, and taught these Lulus how to have sexual arousement through a Hindu school called the Kama Sutra, study of lovemaking. This being because Enki was half reptilian, from his mother Lid's side. Lid was half Draconian and half Anunnaki. She was mixed with part reptilian, the Dracos, also known as Valkuns, that were living in the seas, also known as the Maldakians, living beneath the Bermuda Triangle, in New and Atlantis. Not to be mistaken with another type of Maldakians, called the Primitives. The Valkuns that lived in the sea, were from the Mizar constellation, which is also referred to as Zeta Reticuli. They originated from the planet Maldek, however when their planet was destroyed some took residence on the planet Earth, while others took residence in the constellation Draco, and Zeta Reticuli. One group were known as the Primitives, and one was known as the Dragon, or Draco. Both of these beings were testing with humans in hopes of breeding more humanoid beings to take over the planet Earth. The Primitives from the Bermuda Triangle, word is from Atlan meaning to vacate, or vacation. The ones who came in were hoping that the Primitives from the Bermuda Triangle would accept the old ways from when they lived on the planet Maldek and follow their old leadership. However, it was wrong. So there had been a battle going on the planet Earth, beneath it, and interdimensionally, between the two groups of reptilians. One group is set on evacuating the planet Earth and taking control of it by imprisoning human beings and using them as food, which are the Primitives, and the other group is interested in the divine in humans by breeding the genes into the human beings. This is the group that Id, mother of Enki, came from. The word Zeta is the sixth letter in the Greek alphabet. The early letter Zeta was originally an I. The Greek alphabet came from the Phoenicians. The letter Z is the replica of the cobra, snake, which resembles the symbol for the Zeta Reticulans. The letter Z is the seventh letter in the Hebrew alphabet and it means weapon. In the Canaanite language, the letter used as a Z also means weapon. The letter Zia is the 11th letter of the Ashuric/Syriac Arabic alphabet. As a numeral, Zayin denotes 7. Enki was born half reptilian, Drago and half Anunnaki, and was transformed. Enki was preferred on the planet Earth by the Dragos, reptilians, over his brother Enlil. The Draconian men did not like Enlil, however they liked Enki, which is what caused most of the conflicts between Enki and Enlil. However, their women loved Enlil because he was in control of bringing groups of Anunnaki down to Earth, and they wanted to mix their seed with the male Anunnaki. Atlan later called Atlantis is located off the coast of Bermuda, Florida and Puerto Rico, which would end up in the center of the great landmass and was the power source of old Atlan, called the Bermuda Triangle today, in the Gulf of Amexem later called Mexico. To create the sacred double triangle, which became the shield of Seti I, called David in your Bible, you have what is referred to as the ascending triangle and the descending triangle. One is the Angel's Triangle in Bermuda, called the Bermuda Triangle, on a 32 to 33 degree latitude, which connects from Bermuda, Puerto Rico to Miami, Florida. It is the inverted triangle, it points down. And the other is the Devil's Triangle, in the Pacific Ocean, also called the Devil's Sea, in the Philippine Sea at the tropic Cancer, 32 to 33 degree latitude. And the 3 points are from northern Philippines, Guam, and the east coast of Japan. This is the upright triangle. The Tropic of Cancer is the line that travels straight around the globe and touches all of the special spots, which included the pyramid in Egypt, and the pyramids in Mexico. When Anu first came to Earth/Terra 500,000 years ago, the dragon people and the snake people were already here. They were unwilling to share or sell part of the planet. Anu wanted the gold to take back to his home planet in Risk, called Paradise or Jannah. However, the dragon people feared that Anu would not respect their peaceful ways. They had spent years setting lines of magnetic energy around Earth and had constructed endless tunnels in cooperation with the snake people. This place was called Hell or Jahannam. The energy vortexes which power their civilizations are in these tunnels, along with enormous stores of precious stones and metals. There were a few battles happening on Earth and in the skies. Finally, arrangements were made, territories were drawn. To keep the peace on the planet Earth between the Draconians, the Devils, and the Riskians, the Angels, you had to marry a daughter of one of them. So Anu agreed to mate with a Draconian princess named Lid/Id to seal the alliance, and he gave it to his wife/sister Antum to be her highest servant, courtesan. They gave birth to Nudimmud/Ea, and he was to be ruler of the earth. Nudimmud was educated on Nibiru. He became a master scientist and builder. The leaders amongst the Draconians felt that if they mixed their seed with other beings then, they would be included in the Interplanetary Federation, of which they were not originally. The planet Earth was a vacation resort, where all different beings from different galaxies and star constellation only came to take the minerals that they needed. There were no laws, or rules, and classes set up on Earth for aliens, so the Draconians and the Serpent People, the Reptilians, who resided here, created their own laws to keep control of the Earth. So to keep the peace on the planet Earth between the Draconians and the Riskians, you had to marry a daughter of one of them. Just like African tribes are doing today, when two tribes come together, they keep the peace by offering their daughter to the ruler, or to marry into another tribe. This was the case with Ida and Anu. This mixture is what made Enki part reptilian and part Anunnaki. And the reptilian side of Enki dominated the Anunnaki side, which made him more sexually active, because reptilians enjoy sex with humans. They are constantly abducting humans, for that main purpose. Enki was giving in to his reptilian side. He even went as far as having sexual intercourse with his daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter, etc. just to bear a son, so that son could take Enlil's position, or be in competition with the sons of Enlil. By Nibiruan law, the rules of succession comes from you having a son through your half-sister. Everything was always kept in the family's blood. If a male Anunnaki had a son by his half-sister, that son becomes the successor, as in the case with Antum and Anu, parents of Enlil. Antum was the half-sister of Anu. However, if a male Anunnaki has a son by another woman, who is not his half-sister, that son does not have the title of succession, unless given to him by the higher Anunnaki. With this rule, Enki was furious. He believed that his brother Enlil stole his birthright. He thought that he should be ruler and not Enlil. This obsession for position made Enki have sex with his half-sister Nindi, who is also known as Ninkursag, daughter of Anu and Si, so that she can bear him a son. However, Nindi did not bear him a son, she bore him a daughter. And the story goes as thus: the one who was alone, the cunning one Enki, in front of Nintu, mother of the land, has his penis filled the ditches full with semen, has his penis filled the reeds with an overflow of sperm, has his phallus tear away the noble cloth, the ritualistic apron that covers the lap. He spoke out, no one walks in the marshland. Enki said, no one walks in the marshland. He swore by the life of Anu. His semen that belonged to the one lying in the marshland, Enki directed his semen ode to Damgalnana, who is also called Damkina, the consort of Enki, and he poured that semen into the womb of Ninkursag, also known as 90. 1 day being her 1 month, 2 days being her 2 months, 3 days being her 3 months, 4 days being her 4 months, 5 days being her 5 months, 6 days being her 6 months, 7 days being her 7 months, 8 days being her 8 months, 9 days being her 9 months, the months of womanhood, like fine oil, like the fine oil, like precious oil. 90, mother of the land, like fine oil, like fine oil, like precious oil, gave birth to Ninmu, she who is 3/4 Anunnaki and 1/4 Drago. This made Enki furious because he wanted a son, by 90, not a daughter. However, Enki's scheme does not stop there. Ninmu came out to the bank of the river. Out of the marshland Enki reaches out. He says to his companion Isamud answers him, kiss the young one, the beauty. Kiss Ninmu, the beauty. For my king I will blow up a vigorous wind. Alone he set foot in the boat. Then he lodged it on dry land. He took Naimu, kissed her, Enki poured the semen into the womb of his own daughter. She drew the semen into the womb, Enki's semen. 1 day being her 1 month, 2 days being her 2 months, 3 days being her 3 months, 4 days being her 4 months, 5 days being her 5 months, 6 days being her 6 months, 7 days being her 7 months, 8 days being her 8 months, 9 days being her 9 months, the months of womanhood, like fine oil, like the fine oil, like precious oil, 9 mu, like fine oil, like fine oil, like precious oil, gave birth to Nindara, also called Ninkura, she who is 2/3 Anunnaki and 1/3 Drago. Again Enki bears a daughter. Nindara came out to the bank of the river. Out of the marshland Enki reaches out. He says to his companion Isamud, should I kiss the young one, the beauty? Should I kiss Ninkura the fair? His companion Isamud answers him, kiss the young one, the beauty. Kiss Ninkura, the beauty. For my king I will blow up a vigorous wind. Alone he set foot in the boat. Then he lodged it on dry land. He took Nindara, kissed her, Enki poured the semen into the womb. She drew the semen into the womb of his daughter Nindara. 1 day being her 1 month, 2 days being her 2 months, 3 days being her 3 months, 4 days being her 4 months, 5 days being her 5 months, 6 days being her 6 months, 7 days being her 7 months, 8 days being her 8 months, 9 days being her 9 months, the months of womanhood, like fine oil, like the fine oil, like precious oil, Ninkura, like fine oil, like fine oil, like precious oil, gave birth to Utu, the voluptuous woman. She who is 5/8 Anunnaki and 3/8 Drago by this time, 90 told Utu to stay in the house and have nothing to do with Enki unless he brings her some delicacies. Filling with water a second time, he filled the ditches with water, he filled the canals with water, he filled the unsown lands with water. In his joy Arazu the gardener hugs him, and says to him, who are you who have watered my garden? Enki answers the gardener, I am Nutamud, Enki. Bring me the delicacies. Arazu brought him the delicacies, and Enki heaped them up in his lap. Enki's face turned green, he grabbed the staff, and headed for Utu. You who make demands in her house, open up. You, at my door, who are you? Utu answered. I am the gardener who will give you the delicacies as a reward. Her heart leapt as Utu opened the door of the house. Enki to Utu, the voluptuous woman, gives the delicacies. Utu the voluptuous woman strikes her calf, claps her hands. Enki aroused Utu, took her, lay in her lap, strokes and massages her body. He pierced the young one, kissed her. Enki poured the semen into the womb. She drew the semen into the womb, Enki's semen. Utu the seductive woman says, oh, the power in my body. Oh, the power inside. Oh, the power on the outside. This made 90 angry, 90, Ninkursag wiped the semen from Utu's body. From Enki's semen 90 in some way generated the sprouting of 8 plants to poison Enki. Meaning that Ninkursag took specimens from Utu to the laboratory and there through genetic manipulation created 8 daughters called plants for they reproduced. Their names were, Ninama, Nintula, Ninsutu, Ninkasi, Susiana, Azuma, 90, and Muzarbag. In the school of the Kama Sutra, the Hurry girls were trained in the arts of lust, oral sex, lingam, or snake charming. The quickest way a woman can control a man was their expertise. They were the most beautiful of maidens. The Hurry's job as courtesans was to seduce Enki, a plan which Enki with his womanizing fell immediately into. Throwing out all his mates, and reconstructing his whole household around these 8 most luscious sex dietesses, the Hurry, and in his old age, the soul of Enki fell seductively and passionately out of control. He began to drink and glutton and self-indulged until his countenance fell beyond the degree of a deity. He was poison sick and ready to die. Ninkursag was ordered to take away the curse, and heal Enki. She ordered the 8 Hurry to abandon him, whereupon she took the apparent interest in his health and nursed him back to full health. Ninkursag fixed Enki in her vulva. Brother, what hurts you? My skull hurts me. I have caused Ninama to be born for you. Brother, what hurts you? My jaw hurts me. I have caused Nintula to be born for you. Brother, what hurts you? My tooth hurts me. I have caused Ninsutu to be born for you. Brother, what hurts you? My mouth hurts me. I have caused Ninkasi to be born for you. Brother, what hurts you? My throat hurts me. I have caused Susiana to be born for you. Brother, what hurts you? My arm hurts me. I have caused Azuma to born for you. Let Ninkasi be the one who satisfies desires. Let Susiana marry Nansi, let Azuma marry Ninjaisita. Let 90 be the queen of months. Let Muzarbag be the deity of Dilmun. After Enki was healed, he was brought before the council of 24, Ya equals 12, Way equals 12, whom found him guilty and sent him to Sagan, in Carnegie for the rest of his days, upon which Inanna, also called Ishtar, tries to free him. Enki was never again to be allowed in Nibiru, but must dwell after his 10 years of confinement to stay in Gi. When Dumuzi, husband of Ishtar, raped Geshnana, his sister, he was captured to be punished. However, he escaped punishment a multiple of times, which caused him his death. This death was thought to be from Marduk, because Marduk had cloned an army of himself, meaning his army looked just like him, and acted just like him. This made it easy for Inanna to accuse Marduk of being the one to kill Dumuzi. Marduk had to be brought before the Council of 24, and it was found that some of those under his command killed Dumuzi, when he should have been just exiled to the underworld. Yet Dumuzi, the great deity, he was resisted, and it cost him his life. Marduk was accused by Inanna of being the murderer, where he was tried in the Ikor. However, he was proven innocent of all charges and released by the command of Anu himself, El Elyon. Then Inanna went to Carnegie to try and have a son by Dumuzi's brother Nergal. This was a Anunnaki law, that if a father died, his brother or father was responsible for taking over his family. And any of his many wives or daughters of wives was his for the choosing to breed with to keep the genes pure. So she set out for not just any of the family members, but she wanted Nergal, for he was such a wise alchemist. However, Ereshkigal would not let her. At that time, Inanna, who later became known as Ishtar, did not know that she was carrying Dumuzi's child from a passionate relationship planned by her, the evening before she convinced Dumuzi to go and have sex with Geshnana, for she feared that she could not have an offspring. This cunningness brought upon her great distress, for she was in violation of a great Anunnaki law, invasion of privacy. And in fact, as time came, Inanna gave birth to a son, a beautiful son, tall, 7 feet tall, with black almond-shaped eyes, like flames of fire, and rich dark olive-toned skin, with hair as firm and thick as the strongest bush, and a voice that sounds like rushing waters. This was to be the great Tammuz, the one deity, the Yahweh Jehovah, the Allahu Ahad, the deity incarnate, deity in flesh, ruler of the heavens and the earth of this planet, Lord of all the worlds of this universe. Anu is our Father who art in heaven, and Tammuz is the child that became God on earth, whose name was Sainanda, when he finished his schooling amongst the Agigi. He was also known as Adonis, and became the Adonai of the Aramean, Hebrews. When Inanna arrived at the underworld, called Carnegie, she had also another intent to win the favor of Ereshkigal, and persuade her to free her granduncle Enki, for she could always persuade Enki to do her will. And as long as he was confined to Carnegie by the orders of Anu, she could not exercise her free will. So this plan was also to include how to free Enki free from his 10-year jail term for him deceiving Ninkorsag, trying to have a son by her to verse Anu. He wanted another son for the purpose of succeeding Anu, because his son Marduk would not do it, being his grandfather Anu had gotten him a scholarship in the school of the Agigi, called Haka or Hike, being the first disagreeable to attend there, and Re or Tahuti is Marduk, who also became Anu. When he finished the school, he is also known as Michael, or Malachi, and he became the Melchizedek of the Aramaeans, Hebrews, and Al-Qadr of the Syriac Muhammadan, and between the two is the Grecian Christians. These 3 schools are physical schools related to Hindu incarnations or spiritual schools. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all come from Hinduism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. They traveled from the Far East Asiatic, across to the Middle Eastern Asiatics, and now have invaded the Western world. All of these 6, 1. Hinduism, 2. Confucianism, 3. Buddhism, 4. Hebrewism, 5. Christism, 6. Mohammedanism, are responsible for the thousands upon thousands of religious sects and denominations that control the minds of humans, and are the roots of all evil. These are the 6 degrees of 6 ether in the mystical order of sin, represented by the female deity called the Blessed Mother Mary, also called the mysteries of Auset as Isis, or Auset, her Trinity name. When they use the name Mary, they never tell you the 3 degrees of Mary. One being the Hebrew, Mary sister of Moses, the other is the Greek, Mary Magdalene, and the other is Mary, supposedly mother of the Christ, whose name is spelled, not Mary but Miriam, from the ancient Hebrew origin Miriam, meaning their rebellion. You have 1 degree, Miriam, the Hebrew Miriam, then you have the 2nd degree, the Greek Maria, Miriam, which is Mary the Copt, Tamarine, wife of Muhammad, which all relates to the 3 meters, of Masha M, Messiah M, and Muhammad M, each had their Mary. Mary, Miriam Moses' sister, Mary the Magdalene, Jesus' wife, and Mary the Copt, Muhammad's last wife. These were the mystery schools of Sister Sin, and the trick of the signs and wonders will be holographic projections of the Blessed Mother Mary, worldwide to deceive the elite, before they stage the return of their Savior plot. a fatal attempt to re-trigger the spell to reverse the polarities in your brain that through new Wapu is waking up. Melchizedek, who is Marduk, can best teach and prepare you for this, for I, Malachi myself have gone through such a transformation from the false accusations of a disagreeable Eve, that is an evil woman. When Ishtar had went to the underworld with the intent of having a child by Nergal, the brother of Dumuzi, she was shot by Ereshkigal with a laser gun, and was left to die. Enki couldn't help her, neither could her father Nanner. As time passed by, Ishtar was slowly dying, and Ereshkigal would not heal her. So the ruler Anu projected a hologramic projection of himself, and commanded Ereshkigal to rescue Ishtar. Ishtar was rescued, and was taken to her mother's house, Ningal, to be nursed back to life. When Ishtar was well again, she was summoned to the council of the great Anunnaki, where she repented to the Anunnaki for all of her wrongdoings. She apologized for all of the conflicts that she had started between brothers and sisters, and she promised that she would not deceive her family again. And Ishtar was granted forgiveness. Thus, she became worshipped as a great deity, and her symbol was that of war and peace. She became the high priestess of the temple of Ishtar, where she was worshipped as the universal mother of all living things. And to this day Inanna is still worshipped. Her symbol is also the mother and son symbol, Ishtar and Tammuz, also known as the Black Madonna. As time passed, idols and statues of the Madonna and Child manifested in many countries across the world. In China she is known as Shinmu, in Tamari Isis, in Ephesus, Dina, in Greece, Aphrodite, in Israel, Ashtaroth, in Rome Venus, in India, Devaki, and the list can go on. The Rizkians or Anunnaki knew no war or conflict until arriving to Chi, which atmosphere is based on negative destructive charges. To many Earth is a mere hell. The Anunnaki had a normal life. They were people whose laws on morality were different than yours. There were no limit on wives, children, etc. They lived like normal people. They were the spooks, or mysteries, or what your Torah Bible and Quran portrays as angels. They were people whose image and likeness you were procreated from. There are 3 stages of an Anunnaki, also known as Anutu, the first being an Agigi, the second Etherian, and the third a Rizkian. The Agigis descend in density levels to become the Etherians. The Etherians incarnate as Rizkians. Ether diffuses and a Rizkian is born. The planet Rizk is broken up into 3 continents, namely, Zarantu, Kuzmista, and Darunya. Some of the Anunnaki reside on Kuzmista. The Romartians, Greys who were created by the Rizkians, live on Darunya, because they came before the Galactical Council of 24, and asked them to protect them from the reptilians who pursued them like bounty hunters to capture and enslave them. Also through genetic splicing and cloning they removed their ability to procreate, by removing their sexual organs to further enslave them by controlling their population. They would have to go to the reptilians to reproduce. So they returned to the Rizkians once the planet was safe again to inhabit, and asked could they be of service, in order to earn the right to stay there. The Rizkians agreed that they would be perfectly suited for restructuring the atmosphere and domes because of the high radiation count that surrounded the planet when the shield depleted. When the job was finished they were given citizenship in Rizk and even their own planet in Amalan. They were given one moon planet, not far from Rizk, that revolved around one of the 3 suns Shamash. This planet was called Lydian. Others chose to live next to their creators on the planet Rizk on the continent Darunya. Others of the beings from other stars referred to as the visitors lived on Zarantu. They are not allowed on the other continents. They have immigration laws in Rizk, strictly kept. Rizkians can visit any of the other 2 continents, but the other beings can only visit Rizk with an escort and are not allowed to spend not one complete Rizkian day there. Overstand that the Rizkians who inherit the name Anunnaki when they come to Gi, also called Alam, have 3 stages. Igigi, or Dinir, called ruins, which is the soul, Etherians, called Nafsans, which is the spirit, and Rizkians called Basharans, which is the body. The Igigi do not live on the planet Rizk, they hover around the planet Rizk as fowls of the air hover around Gi, lending at will. The Etherians come in and out of Rizk's atmosphere. The Etherians protect the Rizkians with a dome they built for them to live under. They live in the atmosphere of air. Those are the 3 stages of a Rizkian. The Igigi are not seen, they are felt, the Etherians are seen as light, and the Anunnaki are seen physically. It takes a Rizkian 9,000 years to be. Humans go from baby to adult, to old age, which is fish, to greater shaggy, to spirit being your 3 stages, which gives you Hu-Min, who equals creative force of will, and Min equals the Tamarine deity of fertility, depicted with an erect phallus, while we, Rizkians, go from Igigi, to Etherian to a Rizkian. Humans go from radical, to student, to disciplined, and the Rizkians go from disciplined, to student to radical. Our death is your life and your life is our death. Rizk is what you call heaven, There are parties and beer drinking. We have music, dance and watch holographic TV. However, we don't have pets and don't subject anything there. Our ego doesn't depend on the subjection of creatures. There is no divorce on risk, because there is no marriage. The marriage of Damuzi and Inanna was performed in the temple of Haratha on earth. When the Anunnaki lived amongst the beings on earth, they for peace sake, incorporated their culture, which included a marriage ritual and many others strange to them. There are disagreements, however they have legacy, and depend on it for their existence. There are no wars and no killing after the initial rebellions were brought under control. It's just pure harmony, cooperation, love, peace and happiness, freedom, justice, and equality. Humans cannot live on the planet Risk. Not in the state you're in. There must be physical adjustments for you to be able to withstand the heat of the three suns, and your zero-time reference must be altered from 1 to 1000. Just as when a mortal moves beyond the speed of light into a timeless environment as the universe, time begins to reverse, you will be moving into an environment with 3 suns, 3 time zones, and you would have to adjust to one of them. None have the exact same amount of planets as the solar system you were grown in. You are unworthy. You must first be elevated to a certain level, which begins with altering the selfishness or what's called self-centeredness, and having a divine centeredness, becoming conscious of the deity laying dormant within you and bringing it to the surface. Even then you still have to be groomed to think and act like a deity. The closest thing to this experience is where you astral project during your sleep, which usually begins with a state called sleep paralysis, which opens the doorway to the subconscious, which is linked to the hippocampus area of the brain where your higher senses were unplugged. They must be replugged or your parotid gland reinserted to awaken the deity in you, that you may become one with the all in all. You move through different density levels. In that state your molecules can be sped up and you can transform into a ship. As mentioned previously, Xarandu is the continent for visitors and other extraterrestrials who are restricted to this area only. Whenever humans are brought to Risk, they are put in a biosphere like Adapha, Enoch and Tammuz Jesus, who were half human and half Riskian. There are 3 biospheres of Risk, one on each continent. When Enki destroyed the plan of shipping the gold back to Nibiru, his brother Enlil was given rulership, and Enki's constitute had rulership over him. He was made a servant of servants to his brother, and his constitute Inanna, who is also called Ishtar, wife of Damuzi, mother of Tammuz, who is also called Damuzi, was condemned to Gi, and became Neb over the Humims. The combined titles of Nefer, Yah, for agreeable, and Nech, Way for disagreeable, was attributed to him, and he became known as Yahweh, Genesis 4:26. And he became the deity or guard over Gi and Lil. And all Adamites and Enashites was to give reverence and honor to him. He became known as Yahweh Alam, or the Yahweh of the Alam. Symbolically, Tammuz became Har as Horus, his trinity name. Just as his mother Ishtar became Aset as Isis, and his father Damuzi became Asaru, Osiris as User, his trinity name. Making Anu symbolically Re, as Amun Ra. Later the Canaanites took these mysteries and changed them around, and it became the Madonna, or Jesus as Haru or Tammuz, Mary as Ishtar or Isis, and Gabriel as Asaru or Damuzi. For every Anunnaki there were 9 clones. Originally there were 7 for the 7 major organs in the body. For example, the Anunnaki Enki would have his genes frozen by scientists, and then put on ice by a process called cryogenics, which is the process of freezing genes, for transport and or preserving. One of Enki's clones was destroyed. He was betrayed by Erish Kegel, who wanted to get even with him, for raping her, and having a child by her, named Ningishsida, and then Enki sent her to the underworld. So Erish Kegel got hold of one of Enki's clones, switched it around and destroyed the original. Each clone of an Anunnaki will be used for a healthy heart, a liver, and other internal organs. However, when something is frozen it crystallizes, which destroys cell tissue. Cryogenetics is a science which Earth is learning about quickly. Sargon was the cupbearer to Ur-Zababa, the king of the city of Kish. Sargon's mother was a high priestess in the temple of Ishtar. His father was Haxor. Upon Sargon's birth his mother wrapped him in blankets in a basket of rushes and set him on the river, praying, because his life was in danger. She carefully watched as he floated past a man named Aki, who was in charge of irrigating the fields with water from the river. Aki pulled Sargon from the waters, adopted him as a son. Being his own father, Haxor was killed before his birth in a battle. Aki taught Sargon to tend his garden. Sargon's intuition drew him to the high courts, where he became king of Akkad, successor of King Lugal's Agassi. Sargon became the lover of Inanna, and together they built the city of Agad. They gave birth to a daughter named Endana, who also became a high priestess. Sargon conceived a ceremony in which he removed this sacred soil to a new location where it would serve as the symbolic foundation for a new Babylon, which he would build. This caused war in Akkad and Sumer. Waves of high-intensity radiation destroyed the crops in a matter of minutes, and a period of famine caused the people to revolt against Sargon. Sargon was forced to put down hundreds of rebellions. The Lulus were starving, as they watched their children die in their arms. Sargon's empire began to disintegrate. However, his empire was rebuilt by his grandson Naram-Sin. Sargon's origin was of Semite descent, not Sumerian, a people who had long been drifting eastward into the region between the Tigris and Euphrates from the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula. The Semites settled in Sumer and in the land just north of it, which came to be called Akkad, and they Akkadians. The exact location of Sargon's birth was that very place Akkad. The story of Sargon's birth, being his mother wrapped in a basket and set him in the river, is where the story of Moses in the Bible, Exodus 2:3, came from. Is this a coincidence? This is what happened and is happening, and will happen.